Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to pick up current events in fishing, and we're going to talk a little bit about why we need to use circle hooks when fishing for striped bass on the eastern seaboard. And we'll talk a little bit about how to use those circle hooks, because it's different and it's a practice that most of us have not become that familiar with. Now, circle hooks have been around for a while, and a lot of us use them in various applications, but this time it's being mandated because effective January 1st of 2021, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, which governs basically the quotas and targets and fishing practices in oceanic waters from Virginia up to Maine, has put out a mandate to reduce the mortality rates on striped bass. And that mandate is that all states along the seaboard must use the circle hook when fishing natural bait for striped bass beginning on January 1st. So that's a little bit of a change for many folks, and leads to a couple of questions, and hopefully we'll answer a little bit of those today. So the first thing is, what is a circle hook? And not all circle hooks are the same. But these are the ones below that are two different versions of it. They're both Gamakatsus. One of them has a kind of a straight neck, and the other has a curved neck. I prefer the ones with the curved neck. And they are non-offset. In other words, they're in line, straight line, with the barb pointing backwards. And the way that this hook works is when a bass or any fish, you can use them for catfishing, like when they hook, this hook tends to roll to the corner and hook in the jaw rather than hooking in the gut. And that gut hook in the past has led to significant mortality of striped bass. In fact, in a survey that was provided by the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, it told us that in 2019, which is the last year of counting, almost 31 million striped bass were caught by recreational fishermen. Of that, 28.7 million, so a high percentage, probably 85% or more of the fish were released. Of the fish that were released, there was almost 3 million that did not survive. They died from release mortality. So as you're trying to grow a fish stock, if you're trying to restore the population, that's significant. As a matter of fact, more fish died in release than were kept. Kind of interesting. Only 2.15 million were harvested, and 2.15 million were harvested, in other words, kept, and 400,000 more died from release. So they're trying to work on the release mechanism to create a higher percentage of fish that release and survive. That solution is the circle hook. Here in New Jersey, kind of similar, we had 3.1 million catches by recreational fishermen, 2.7 million released, but still 250,000 died from release mortality. Now that occurs for a couple of reasons, but the largest reason is a gut hook. I guess first off, why do you release, right? There's a lot of information out there. There's three basic categories for release. The first one is size criteria. So we have slot fishing here in New Jersey. You can't keep the very big and you can't keep the small. So those need to be released by law. You also have bag limits. So in New Jersey, it's basically one per trip. I guess two if you get a bonus tag. So if you exceed your bag limit, they have to be released. And then the third one, I guess I fall into that category. It's called angler preference. I prefer a catch and release program. It's what I practice fishing, and that causes release as well. Well, why do they die? They die because they get gut hooked, and they also died because they get mishandled. So they give us some instructions there about working on the survivability of the the catch that you're going to return to the water. And first and foremost is to use those circle hooks. Second is they tell you to use barbless hooks or bend the barbs down. So as you can tell, there's a little catch on the back here, and if you file that down, you can increase the release. Use non-stainless hooks. If you're using stainless steel hooks, they don't rot off. So if you did gut hook one and you did follow their recommendations about just leaving the hook in place and cutting the leader as close to the shank as you could, there's a chance over time that would rust out and release, but a stainless hook won't do that. They tell you to replace the treble hooks on your artificial lures with single hooks. They tell you to use the tackle suited for the fish, and don't fight the fish to exhaustion. So we see this in Bassmasters tournaments a lot, right? You see an angler will catch a bass and he'll crank like crazy just to bring the fish in. Well, that is a better strategy for hooking a striped bass than trying to play it out. Certainly don't bring the fish up onto the beach or onto the rocks if you can avoid it. Release that fish in water, and if you do need to net it, use a rubber or a soft mesh net. The problem we have with striped bass is that they have a biological, for lack of a better term, slime or coating on them. And when you rub that off, that makes them susceptible to disease. Don't touch a fish in the eye. Don't touch the fish in the gills. Don't use a dry rag or your dry hands on them. That will transfer the protective coating. But rather try to release that fish in water and avoid dragging it across dry sand and rocks. If you do have the ability to unhook it in the water, leave the fish horizontal. If you do need to support it by the jaw and under the stomach. But at all means, try to stay away from the gills and the eyes, and that'll help you with the release. So the circle hooks are really the topic of today, and I wanted to show you two things. I talked a little bit about why we need to do it, so let's talk a little bit about how to do it. So the circle hook is the hook of preference. It's a different fishing technique than we have with most of the time. Most of the time, if we're floating bait, what we're going to do is we get that strike, and our initial instinct is to just pull up on the rod and get a nice firm set. That's not what you do with a circle hook. With a circle hook, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you feel the pressure on it, you keep tension on the line, but you let the fish try to swim off. When the fish swims off, that circle hook is going to rotate, and it's going to hook itself in the jaw. And of course, if you can get it to the corner of the jaw, it's going to be a much easier release than fighting them or gut hooking them. So they found through experience that you can do better with this, and so they're telling us to do it. So we have two types. We have several types of circle hooks. One has a straight collar with the line, and the other has this little bend in it, and I prefer the bend. So one of the things you're going to find with the circle hooks, it's relatively new. Let's see, I just can't open this up. It's relatively new. You're not going to find most of these coming in a snelled way from your local tackle shops. You're going to have to do it yourself. So I thought for a minute here I'd just show you how to snell one of these, or at least how I snell one of these. And we'll see if we can leave you with something like that. I'm just going to sit down for a moment on the bench. I'm going to grab this hook. Let's see if we can put something behind us that's white so you can see how this is being done. You can tie these directly to your line if you like. I'm just going to grab some line here. This might be a little bit difficult now because it's clear line. What I do is I come through the eye and I use what's called a Uline knot. I come through the eye. Oops, wrong way. Kind of tough for the camera here. Come through the line. Get a good amount of the line coming through because that's what you want to work with. And I can see already this is going to be a problem. Make a ring, just like that. And hopefully we can see that. But make a ring. Then take that tag end that you had and come through that ring several times. Let's just count. I like to do it about 4 or 5 times. Kind of hard to do for the camera here, but I'll do the best I can. You're pinching down on the ring, and you're circling. I'm also not a lefty. I'm trying to hold this for the camera. 3. Let's do one more. I have 30-pound test on here. Probably would have helped if I had a colored line for you. All right, when you do it 3 or 4 times, just pull tight. Then that's going to pull up on you. That's your snell, and all you do is you cut the line short on that tag end, and that snell is not going anywhere. Let's see if we can show it this way. So you use the Uline knot to tie that. It comes through, and what I like about this, the reason I use this type of a snell, is you'll notice on that line now, we have that line coming straight out. So when you're fighting a fish or when you're drifting bait, that line is straight out. It's not going to wobble. It's not going to cause the hook to spin, and it's not going to cause the hook to go up and down. It's pretty much becomes just part of the overall tackle, and a very effective way to use these hooks. So just as a recap, they want us to use these hooks. You're going to have to use these hooks. If you're a catch and release fisherman, get rid of this this lower barb here, and just press it in. You can use, I'm a catch and release, so this is fine. Just use a pair of pliers, crimp it down, just like I've done here, and that'll stop any secondary hooking or limit damage, just like that. You can file it off if you want, and just go with the first one. And then how do you release once you have that hook? Well, it's just a completion of the circle. So if you've got it hooked in the jaw, you just back it out. It's a very simple, less harmful way of hooking those fish. So we're doing it because we're mandated to do it. You need to use the circle hook. We're doing it to hopefully increase the survival rate of the fish that do need to be returned. We did talk about returning them because of either angler preference, state mandate, or size limits or bag limits. So they do need to be returned. This is a good way to preserve the resource. It's a good way to act responsibly and hopefully to grow the fish stocks so that we can enjoy striped bass fishing in the future. So I hope that's been informative to you. I hope you'll like it. If you do, please indicate that. If you have comments, certainly leave them. If you have any questions on this or anything in regards to fishing or reel repair, please leave them in the comments section, and I'll be happy to try and respond to you. And finally, if you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. Subscriptions help grow my channel, and if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That will help you to see the videos that I'm posting and choose the ones that you would like to view. So with that, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, thanking all first responders for everything you do to keep us safe during the pandemic, and wishing everybody to have a great day.